Work planes are extremely useful tools when modeling in Autodesk Inventor. In this video, I'll show you a couple of places where you can use work planes to improve your workflow. There are two great opportunities for using work planes when modeling a part such as the one on the screen. Over on the right-hand side, there's this ear that sticks off that would be used to put a bolt through and tighten this object down on maybe a shaft that goes through this center hole. But because of the offset nature, I don't want to draw this right on the quadrant of that cylindrical surface, but I want to draw it a little bit of a distance off. And the other option is also this is similar. It's this saw cut that's going to go through here. I can use work planes to create both of those. So if we look at the part that I have here modeled in Inventor, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a work plane for that surface. If we look at the model here itself, I'll see that it is 13/16 of an inch from one surface to the other on that ear that sticks out. So if I create my work plane right in the middle, I will offset it half of that distance, 13/32, to one side or the other. And that will give me this surface that I can then model this object on, and then I can extrude it the full 13/16 so that I get it A, centered, and B, the right distance. So if I go back again here to Inventor, the first thing I want to do is I want to take that, in this case, XZ plane and make it visible. And then in order to create that work plane, I will come up here to the work plane tool, select this one, click and hold, and then drag off in this direction so I can offset it. Now half of 13/16 is 13/32, which is 0.40625. So if I enter that there, notice now that I've created that new work plane and it's 13/32 or 0.40625 away from that center plane. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility of that first plane. And then I can say, let's start a new sketch on that work plane. When I do, I'm ready to create my sketch, and then I can extrude it the full 13/32, or excuse me, 13/16. Now, in order to make this easier, I'm going to press F7, which gives me the slice graphics. And you'll see that I have a line here which represents the edge of where I'm slicing through, and there's another line here which represents the end of the part. Now what I want to do is I want to use this edge as I want to project that edge to the cutting, or to the work plane, but I don't want to project all of the edges to the work plane. So in order to do that, I'm going to say let's change our line type, of course, to construction. Remember, construction lines are not included in part geometry for the purposes of profiles. And then under project geometry, I'll drop it down and I'll say project cut edges. And you can see what it does in the model is it projects all of those cut edges as construction lines. After I've done that, I can turn my construction line setting off, and I can pick just that one line that I want and turn it off from construction line back to regular line as well. So now I've projected that line as a regular line into the model, but it's not it's not on the construction line layer. From here I can go ahead and model that part, that ear that sticks off. So I'll say it starts, about here, it's going to come out some distance, and it's half round, and then it comes back in. Okay. After I have my geometry sketched, I can then place a few constraints. So I want that point to be lined up with the midpoint of the line, and I can say the dimensions. This one here has a radius of 0.5, and the distance from the center of that hole to the center of that hole is 1.25. You'll see that the sketch is fully constrained, so I can finish my sketch. And now it is ready to extrude in that direction 13/16 of an inch. So I'll say extrude the other direction and then 13/16 is 0.8 125. So there's my 13/16 of an inch. I'll say OK. And notice now that the part doesn't have any gaps, okay? Because it unions them all together, it's all one part. From here, I'm done with this work plane, but you don't want to erase it. You simply want to right-click on it and turn the visibility off. So I'll right-click on that, and I'll say let's turn that visibility off right there. Now from here, I can go ahead and I can put the hole. So there has to be a hole in this, and it's a simple hole with no features. It has a diameter of 1 1/4, and it goes all the way through. And now I need to place that saw cut in here. Again, if we look at the model itself, or the drawing, there's this 1/16 of an inch saw cut that goes through. Again, when I create my work, or the original plane is right on the center line, so I need to create my work plane offset half of that distance to one side. This one I'll take a little bit different tack just to kind of give you an idea of how another way you can do this work. Again, coming back here, I'm going to go ahead and turn that plane visibility back on, and I'll say let's create another work plane. I'll select, click, drag, and I'll say 0.03125. So it's going to offset that new plane a 32nd of an inch, that's half of a 16th, and then I'll take that original XY plane and I'll turn the visibility off. Again, I'm going to say let's create a new sketch on that new work plane, and again, F7 does my slice graphics. Now, what I want to do is I want to cut, and I want to create a cut for all of this. But I don't want to get these outside edges, because if I cut through here, I'm not going to get the actual part itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, again, cutting plane line, or construction line geometry, and I'll say project my cut edges. But then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a cutting plane using a rectangle. So if I come in here and I say let's create a rectangle, I'll go ahead and start at that corner. I'll make it a little bit too big here, and then I'll apply a few constraints. I want that corner to be on that corner, and I want that midpoint to be on that midpoint. And now it's completely constrained. If this part changes size, that cutting plane that I've created there will adapt with it. I can say finish this sketch, and now I can extrude that rectangle as a cut feature. So I'll say as a cut feature, and it's only a 1/16 of an inch, 0.0625, and I'll say OK. And now I have created that saw cut through there. Now, one of the things that I probably should have done before I put that saw cut in was I should have put my hole in this surface. One of the nice features about AutoCAD is Inventor is I can come in here and I can move the end of my part. So notice if I take the end of part, I can drag it up above work plane 2. So it's as if I've got hole number 1 placed, and here's the end of the part, and then work plane 2 and that extrusion are as if they don't exist. I can now come in here and say let's put another hole in. The hole diameter needs to be 1/4 of an inch. It's going to go on that surface and through the whole thing. And I can say OK. And then when I come back over here, I can now take the end of that part and move it back down. And notice that it still works, and I've essentially placed that hole before I place the rest of those. The other thing that I might want to do is I might want to actually have my fillets in place. So again, I'll move that back up above there. I'll place all of my fillets before I do the saw cut. So if I want my fillets in here, I can say I need fillets on all of these surfaces. And then that surface, that surface, that surface, that surface. Okay, so now it's completely filleted the way it should be. And again, I can move the end of the part back down, and it's as if it comes in after the fillets are in place. So that's how you can easily use work planes to add features to your models.